Alright, how's it going everybody? This is Tyrell here. If you like cryptocurrency, this is the place to be. A free way to support the channel is to subscribe, like the videos, and go ahead and comment. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me and I will be happy to try and answer that to the best of my ability. Now, let's get right into it. Let's look at the total crypto market cap. Taking a second. Alright, we're currently sitting at $1.777 trillion for the total crypto market cap. Now, over this weekend, Bitcoin actually hit a brand new all-time high, nearly touching $62,000. So there's a lot of hype given that rise, right? So when I was looking at it over the weekend, there was like a potential double top at 58,000, but we just completely busted right through that. And this past weekend, stimulus checks were hitting people's bank accounts, which is really nice. So it'll be interesting to see what Bitcoin does going forward into this next week. One of my targets is in the near term is 75,000 and potentially even up to 100,000. So we're just gonna be along for the ride. Of course, there's gonna be ups and downs in between this rise, but that's what we're here for. All right, next we're gonna look at Ethereum. So this one's currently in a range of 1,500 to 2,000. I could potentially even draw some other like support lines. So let's go here, horizontal array. You can see there's many price points right here, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and put this right here at 1720. So you could even say that Ethereum is in this range, and we're going to go ahead and just wait on whatever's going to happen for price. There's a lot of upgrades and news coming out for Ethereum right now, such as ETH 2.0, some scaling solutions to allow a higher throughput in transactions for the Ethereum blockchain. Because as you know, this is essentially the foundation for decentralized finance, which is taken off, and even NFTs. Next we got Cardano. I was just holding on to this one. This one is like, I would say, in an accumulation phase where price is kind of just like going sideways and the market's really deciding what it wants to do. So the market as a whole, like I'm speaking of it as an entity, but it's like really people and institutions that are buying and selling cryptocurrency. So as like the market as a whole decides like, hey, this thing is either going to go up or it's going to go down, we're just going to wait for that. In the meantime, what I'm doing with Cardano is staking, as I've told you guys before, so I can just like earn more Cardano over time. And then we got Graph. This one is kind of like oscillating the same way, and in an accumulation phase. Like we had this crazy rise all the way up to $2.80, and then it's fallen a dollar to $1.80. It's pretty cool. And then we got Tezos. This one's just chugging along. And Algorand, this one actually had like a nice little bit of rise from this dollar support to $1.25 now. So just holding on to this one. As I told you guys in a previous video, I'm also just holding Algorand and then earning interest in Algorand. So that's daily accruing into my account on Coinbase. And then we got Atom. It's doing the same thing as Cardano, just in an accumulation phase as the market decides what it wants to do. And then Chainlink, the same thing, kind of just, you know, doing its thing. But I mean, as you can see here, like there's this trend line of price just going up, even though it's down from here. Overall in 2021, price has just been increasing over time. So just hold on to it, right? Accumulate, accumulate, accumulate. That's the game that we're all in. Next, we're going to look at the entire crypto market. So like Bitcoin is up 18% in the past 7 days, which is doing really well. Got Ethereum here, Binance Coin. I don't own any Binance Coin. And then Tether, that's just like a stable coin. Polkadot, that's hard for US citizens to get because it's not like offered on Coinbase at all. or Binance US, I don't think. So if you're not in the US, you can potentially get some Polkadot, and it's doing some really cool things. And then Cardano I talked about. Uniswap, I've actually heard some good things about Litecoin as well, since it's relatively cheap and up 16% in the last 7 days. And then Chainlink rounding out the top 10 cryptocurrencies. Now let's get into some news. I like CoinDesk, love CoinDesk actually. This is probably like one of the first sites that I check in my day, right? I'd like to stay current in all of the crypto news and just read anything that catches my attention, which is actually this one. When it comes to DeFi, Anchor begins countdown to launch bank-beating DeFi savings accounts. So I have a background in banking and the financial industry, so like I know that given the interest rate environment that we're currently in, right, with the Federal Reserve keeping interest rates really low, bank savings accounts are really low. So they're only offering like 0.01% interest if you like hold cash at a bank, which is like stupid because you know that inflation is going to eat away at your purchasing power at a stated 2%, but like with all the money that they're printing is probably much higher. And you have like consumer inflation, the CPI stated like at a federal level of 1.7, but really they're not taking into account asset prices or like stock prices or Bitcoin prices in that inflation calculation. So in reality, inflation is much higher than what the government is really stating, but not a lot of people really know that. So going back to this news article, so with cryptocurrencies and DeFi and all of these platforms creating incentives or products that allow a user to earn a higher interest rate than what is currently available, puts their customers in a much better financial position and really makes their company much more valuable in the long run as more and more people realize this. So good for Anchor that they're doing this. So it was originally slated for an October launch, but the team pushed that back to late November, and now it looks like they're actually going to be able to do it. And it's based on Terraform's UST stablecoin pegged to the US dollar and earns returns that consistently outpace the annual APY of savings accounts at US banks. So this is built on the Tendermint consensus mechanism, which is essentially the foundation for Cosmos or Atom. And this is a really good development and needed for the mass adoption of cryptocurrencies in the mainstream. So good for them. All right, going back now, over this past weekend, Bitcoin spikes to near record high over 61,000, as I showed you guys on the chart earlier. And there's just like some crazy news. I mean, there was an NFT sold for $69 million. Bitcoin price goes up to $62,000, nearly $62,000. President Joe Biden signs a massive $1.9 trillion stimulus program into law that is sending checks for $1,400 to U.S. citizens. Personally, I haven't even got mine, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to get mine, because there's also something that I'm going to talk about in just a second, showing you guys like if you invested your first stimulus check into Bitcoin, how much it would be. And it's actually astronomical. Like if you just bought Bitcoin when you first got it, you would be sitting pretty right now. Now the move to 61,000 brought Bitcoin's market cap to 1.14 trillion, not so far below the 1.385 trillion value of Alphabet, the parent company of Google. Now, in the past decade, Bitcoin was the best performing asset by 900%. That's actually crazy, right? So let's go ahead and highlight this article and see what's important on it. The US NASDAQ 100 index ranked second with an annualized return of 20%, followed by US large caps. Shares in US based companies with market caps exceeding $10 billion, with an average annual performance of 14%. Now let's go back, right? So in an entire year, you have stocks that do 14%. In the past week, Bitcoin has done 18. Now let's talk about some of these other cryptocurrencies. Like, look at the gains relative to the stock market. This is just crazy. I mean, nearly 400%, 184%, 175%, 165%, nearly 150%. Now, this doesn't happen all the time, but this is literally the power of cryptocurrencies. When you're able to find a project that is valuable at a cheaper price, and over time it just develops, and then their use cases come about into the market, and then price just appreciates. So like, your money is just going to be working a lot harder and grow a lot faster than going into the stock market or holding it into a traditional savings account where it's going to earn 0.01% interest, which is literally a joke. Now, this was probably like the best article that I read in the past week. So if you want to be rich, all you really need is 0.01 Bitcoin. In 10 years, Bitcoin's finite supply will be nearly exhausted, meaning holders might only need 0.01 Bitcoin to become filthy rich. Let's go ahead and highlight this. While purchasing 0.01 Bitcoin might only cost $500 today, current trends in global wealth distribution and the inevitable realization of Bitcoin's limited supply could result in 0.01 Bitcoin being worth $1 million in the future. Now, at current prices, since Bitcoin is nearly at 60,000, 0.01 Bitcoin is nearly $600 today. Now, a lot of people are probably going to think like, oh, where am I going to get $600? Like, how am I going to be able to afford that? We'll get into that point in a second, but like, the research of this article really states that like, there are 51.9 million individuals with a net worth surpassing $1 million. Like, if these people wanted to buy Bitcoin, each millionaire, one Bitcoin, like, it's mathematically impossible for these people to purchase one full Bitcoin. All these people are really going to be fighting for a finite supply, and the only way people are going to be able to afford it, if all these people are competing for it, is if price goes to a much higher price level. And it's going to be insane to see what Bitcoin can potentially do in the next 5, 10, 20 years. And if you know anything about Bitcoin, you know that the last Bitcoin is probably going to be mined in 2140, so 2140. The year 2140, that's a long time from now. Now, when removing the 1.9 million coins that haven't been touched for over a decade from Bitcoin's supply cap, there's a maximum limit of 19.2 million Bitcoin available for the world's millionaires. This leaves 0.37 Bitcoin per millionaire, including the yet to be mined coins, assuming Bitcoin supply will be evenly shared between said millionaires. But that's not going to happen, because you have all these people that are accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible. You have MicroStrategy purchasing like 91,000 Bitcoin. You have other miners that started back in 2009, 2010 that had just been able to hold their Bitcoin. Some people have lost their Bitcoin, so like, that takes some Bitcoin off of the market. And then you have the Teslas buying $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Square, PayPal, hedge funds, endowments, colleges, you know, mom and pops, me, you, whoever's listening to this video. Like, it's crazy how much people are accumulating Bitcoin, and like, there's charts showing there's so much demand. There's like not enough on exchanges for to like really keep up with demand. Like, not enough Bitcoin is being produced to satisfy the demand in the market, essentially. So with all these Bitcoins coming off of exchanges, the price is just going to go much higher, much faster. Who knows what it's going to be at the end of 2021. And I'll even say this, like, what if it just like goes to zero? That'd be insane. But it probably won't go to zero. It'll probably go to 1 million before it goes to zero. So assuming the global wealth proportion shown in the chart above stays the same, millionaires represent 6.32 million coins out of Bitcoin's remaining supply, suggesting each individual would have the opportunity to purchase 0.12 Bitcoin each. Now, what I will say is, many people don't want to wait for this, where 0.01 Bitcoin is worth $1 million. Because when it gets to that point, who is really going to be able to afford that at that point? Like, say we're like 10 years in the future and none of us like own Bitcoin. Are we going to be able to purchase 0.01 Bitcoin? Like, do we have $1 million that's sitting around? No, we don't. But today in 2021, 0.01 Bitcoin costs $600. Now, where can you get $600? There was a $1,400 stimulus payment that was just posted to people's bank accounts. You could have bought, what is that, 0.2 Bitcoin, essentially, 0.02 Bitcoin. Now, that's free money that the government is going to be giving to all of us. And people were just like, oh, we're going to spend it on this, we're going to spend it on that, we're going to spend it on this. If you were smart enough to actually invest your Bitcoin the first time around, the $1,200 one back on April 15th of 2020, that current stimulus would now be worth $10,732, right? So why not do that, right? That just goes back to this article. If you have 0.01 Bitcoin in 10 years, that'll potentially be worth $1 million. So if you can turn $1,200 into $1 million, you now have the chance to do that. Let's come back to this video in 10 years. Now, there's also ways to earn more Bitcoin. You could take the Bitcoin that you either dollar cost average or you buy with your stimulus, and then you could put it onto platforms like Vauld to earn interest, right, on your cryptocurrency, this finite asset, which people are going to compete over, and naturally price is just going to go higher. Or you can go to BlockFi, and they have this cool calculator where it can show you how much interest you can earn in a year given the current prices for Bitcoin and everything. Now, this is for informational purposes. You don't have to take my advice, but like, given all the stuff that's happening with Bitcoin, how your money is being devalued, if you invest in the stock market, it's not going to grow as fast as cryptocurrency. You're getting free money, essentially. If you want to be rich in 10 years, all you need is 0.01 Bitcoin. And here's the evidence in your face. Like, if you invested your $1,200 stimulus on April 15, 2020, it will now be worth $10,732. All right, that's my spiel. If you like that information, please like, subscribe, comment, share this with whoever you want. This information is out there on the internet. Like, as long as you know where to like search, you can like find all this stuff. Or you can just come to my channel. All right, this is Tyrell. Peace.